Well, this is it. The long season, the long-awaited Super Bowl 57 is now upon us, and one of our favorite shows every year's Super Bowl preview time, getting ready for Chiefs, Eagles, this upcoming Sunday, recording here on a Monday. Mark, I'm Dan, and here we go, ready to go on a football lounge Monday afternoon, and I'm just stoked for this game. I know you are too. We've been waiting for this for a while now, and we got some big news, too, coming out of the NFL. As always, right before the Super Bowl week, there's a little bit of dead time, so why not have some breaking news in there with Sean Payton being announced as the new head coach of the Denver Broncos. Slam dunk hire. I think you agree as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got Sean Payton getting hired. You got Tom Brady retiring. The NFL does, even on an off week with no football, they love to fill you up with news and notes. For me, I think it was just it was the move the Broncos have to make. I saw someone compared it now when they show what the Broncos gave up to get Wilson and Peyton, the amount they gave up. At this point in time, you've dug such a deep hole with Russell Wilson, and you're so committed to him. And no one in the NFL's God's green earth is going to trade for Russell Wilson after last year over the next year or two with that contract and how it balloons. You had to go out there and big fish hunt, and you got the best coaching candidate who's been on the market in maybe since Andy Reid was let go from Philly. I mean, that's how big of a deal it is that I think Sean Payton has been out there and was available after his retirement last year. Unless I'm missing some sort of gigantic coaching hire, but I can't think of one. John
Gruden was probably pretty highly touted at the time.
Yeah, we look back and we could say hindsight's 2020 now that it didn't go well and ended with horrific emails. I guess hiring of Gruden was a big deal, and Gruden's name was thrown out there a ton, like Harbaugh's name has been. But Sean Payton, listen, I think that this is going to be a really, really interesting team to watch. They were going to be interesting to watch the season start next year anyways. Now I think it's even more imperative that we see like improvement. If the Broncos, imagine we're at week 5 and they're 1-4 and Russ isn't playing well. I mean, it'll be an all-time insane story of what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
And really it's just such a bizarre turn. So yeah, huge news. I like the hire, obviously, for the Broncos fan. If I'm a Broncos fan, I always put myself in those shoes. If I'm a Broncos fan this morning, I sit there and I feel now considerably more confident about this this decision, this hire, about the Russell Wilson move, feeling much better going into next year. But they're still in the back of your head just going like, well, you got to make it work. We owe the man $55 million like every year.
And, they were already starved for picks. Yeah. But I do think overall the haul was pretty I thought it was fair. I thought a first and second rounder going from Denver to New Orleans and getting a third back. I mean, that's fine. Like that's doable for Denver, especially if you get the coach right. You feel like you got the quarterback right. Hopefully you're going to need that to pan out. But if you put those two together, we all know that is the winning formula for success in the league and for a Super Bowl championship. So, I mean, you'll pay anything. You would pay 10 first-round picks to get Patrick Mahomes. So it's all about, will this work out in the end? Time will tell. But for right now, as it stands, seems like a really slam dunk hire there for new management and a whole new regime there in Denver. So Broncos country has got to be feeling pretty good about now.
I really wanted you to just go right into Let's Ride.
I was thinking about it, but I feel like that horse has been beaten a very bad
dead. That
over
horse,
the past 24
hours. Most beaten to death horse in the history of horses.
Yeah, no doubt. But yeah, Super Bowl 57 coming up in under 6 days, or just 6 days from now, I should say. So let's get to it. The Football Lounge with Mark and Dan, Super Bowl 57 preview. All right, Mark. So Chiefs, Eagles setting the stage for us here. We just had the Pro Bowl. I'm interested real quick, before we get into the Super Bowl preview, we're going to have obviously a preview for you of the game itself, our thoughts on the game, some Super Bowl trivia that we both picked out for each other and going to test each other on that knowledge, and then finish up with some of our top 10 players featured in the Super Bowl as well. So that's kind of setting the stage for you here on our preview show. But yes, they rolled out a new Pro Bowl format this year with Peyton and Eli coaching the respective conferences. Team Peyton was the AFC, Team Eli the NFC. A lot of different, skills competitions, some dodgeball thrown in there, Mark, and 3 flag football games interspersed in there as well. Overall, your just thoughts on the whole format? Did you enjoy it? Were there certain ones that you tuned in for and others that you were like, I don't really care about this? Curious your thoughts on the whole thing.
I mean, yeah, of the little I watched of it, it was mainly for like the skills competition stuff. I find that, and like the dodgeball at this point, I find that all way more fun and fascinating. Like the guys really letting their personalities out, having fun. That was interesting. Peyton and Eli are great, and the little I watched of the actual flag football game, I thought they did a great job in kind of starring and leading it. But at this point in time, it feels as though I'm 100%. I think we said this when they announced this anyways. I just want the official Pro Bowl roster. Those are the only people who are Pro Bowlers, and then just have what they call Pro Bowl weekend or All-Star weekend in Vegas or Hawaii or Orlando, whatever the bleep they want to do it, right? And then just have a bunch of events and fun things like that and try to get not necessarily just Pro Bowlers out there. We don't need to name alternate. I don't need Tyler Huntley to be called a Pro Bowler at all. Just, hey, it's NFL All-Star, fun weekend, and we're going to bring out some big name stars to play in dodgeball, to play and hit the target, to play and do the bench press or whatever, and just make it that official type of thing, and make it a big, just fan friendly event where you get a bunch of autographs and pay the players who actually get involved with all these events and move on with it. They're never going to have the Super Bowl the week after the championship games. They always want to give teams that extra week to prepare, the media, the build up. So they want to fill that spot in the calendar. Just make it a total all-star fest and just call it that. Like, name a Pro Bowl roster and then give me a fun activities all-star fest like weekend like the NBA does. And just no game, because the flag football, it was fun for a second. Now I was like,
I thought it was a little fun.
I'm not.
I mean, it was way better than the actual games that we've gotten in the past. I will say that. I mean, I would much rather watch a flag football game than what we've been fed the last dozen years or so. But I do agree with you that there were some aspects of it that it kind of dragged on a little bit. I thought rolling it out over several days was kind of but overall, I think they're in the right direction. And this was the first year trying this whole new thing out. They'll taper things and to that year, and they'll make tweaks here and there over the years to make it a little bit more fun. I thought like a cool thing would have been obviously the Eagles players were playing in the Super Bowl, but something like where they put out a Christmas album this year, having them do a live concert or something at that fest. That would be really cool. And there's plenty of other things. We were talking about a food eating contest of some sort, having the linemen
NFL talent
try and take on a challenge. And talent, there you go. Yeah. There's a lot of things you could do to play around and make it more engaging. And something like a talent show would appeal to fans not of football or anything like that.
I would absolutely tune in to see which NFL player is going to grab a guitar and like do an original song or do a cover, or you know what I mean, or play the drums or juggle or whatever you want. Like, have some fun with it. I think, I just at this point, we need to get rid of the idea that there's any sort of game. Make activities, make games, make challenges, get creative. But I'm ready. I'm ready to be done with it.
Yeah, it is. It's time to move on essentially, and get ready for the real football, the final real football of the 2022-23 season to be played this upcoming Sunday at 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central Time. Chiefs at the Eagles on Fox. Right now, Mark, Philly with a 1.5 point favorite.
Yeah, crazy.
Currently, from what I've seen, which is it's moved around a little bit, since the championship games. But yeah, the Eagles right now 1.5 point favorites. I'm curious. So let's just kind of get our initial thoughts on the game, how we think it'll play out before we get into some of that other fun stuff, the prop bets and all of those items. Chiefs at Eagles. Do you see the Eagles deserving of being a favorite here in this game, or do you think that the Mahomes factor alone should be enough to tip the scales in their favor?
I mean, to me, it's interesting just in the sense that, I think, to me personally, the Chiefs should be favored because of Mahomes and Andy Reid off a bye and how terrific he is. They have more of the continual experience. I know that's maybe not a word, but Bieniemy's been through. So. You know what I mean? I think about Bieniemy's been there with them the whole time. Andy Reid, this is as a unit for the most part their third Super Bowl with Kelsey, with Mahomes, with some of these same pieces on defense with Clark and Chris Jones. I mean, these guys have been there. They've done that. They know what it takes. I think that is going to play a huge factor in the game. I think the line is going to keep shifting, though. It wouldn't shock me if as we get closer, we're recording this on the Monday, Super Bowl week. It wouldn't shock me if the line moves more, depending on where the money comes in, because as soon as you can get the public to start betting on Chiefs as underdogs, I think you're going to see that happen, and the lines could adjust. So maybe that's what Vegas wants. Maybe Vegas thinks that Philly is the play here, and they're just trying to get as much of the public's money as possible, because it's easy for us all to say, okay, Mahomes, Chiefs, they've been there, they've done that, Super Bowl champs. As far as how the game and how I see the game playing out, to me, I just wish so much. This is what we have to do in our business and what we try to do. You got to make a prediction, right? You got to give us your thoughts. But this is going to be one of those games that I think we will know after a series or two so much more. Because if Philadelphia, with Mailata, with Lane Johnson, with Kelsey, and with Miles Sanders, Gainwell, Jalen Hurts, if they can come out and physically impose and handle Frank Clark and handle Chris Jones and handle Karlaftis easily, and they can use their size and road grade and run the ball, I think that Philly can be in this game. I think they can win this game if they can play and make this a physical football game where they grind it out, keep Mahomes on the sideline, and just beat down on that pass rush ability of the Chiefs. And if they can't do that, and early on the Chiefs defensive line and front seven can withstand the size of the Eagles and get them into third and longs and get Jalen Hurts throwing the ball more than they're comfortable with, as far as, Jalen Hurts is comfortable throwing the ball a ton in play action, rolling him out, moving the pocket, deep shots on second and short, third and short. But if it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, second and long situations, and now it's like a spread them out, and Jalen Hurts has to throw the ball 30, 35 plus times, I think that plays into the Chiefs' hands terrifically. 100%. The Chiefs help their defense with their terrific offense by both teams want to get up early because it favors them. The Eagles want to get up early so they can run the football. The Chiefs want to get up early to force the Eagles to throw the football and get away from the run. So it's so much. This is like, when they say in boxing, like styles make fights. This feels like that so much because I think these two teams are so even. I saw a great graphic out of one of the ESPN people. I think it was Field Yates. Yeah, he tweeted out. Both teams are 16-3. Both teams have scored 546 points exactly this year. Both teams have 6 All-Pros, including a Kelsey brother and their QB made of the All-Pro team. Both teams were the number 1 overall seeds. I mean, how much more even can you get, even though the teams stylistically are different? And that's why I think, after the first series or two, we're going to just know so much more about how this game's going to look.
It's very difficult to predict for sure. And for a lot of the reasons you were alluding to there, I think it will come down to a couple different types of style of play. So if this game turns into a shootout, then I'm 100% picking Mahomes and the Chiefs to win that. They have the ability to score in one play, probably better than any team in the league. That's not to say the Eagles can't also have the home run hit. They do. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith are big play weapons for sure. They have that ability, but nobody does it on the level of Mahomes and Kelsey and the various weapons that they have on that team. So I think that favors Kansas City. If what I envision is Pacheco getting a ton of run early in this game, because I think the Chiefs are knowing that this is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles trying to enforce their will and show that we have the better O-line, we have the better D-line, and we're going to come after you in the trenches and try and dominate you early and tire you out early. So I think the Chiefs early on in this game are going to try and match that and at least keep them on their toes. If you can keep the Eagles from pinning their ears back and having Hassan Reddick wreak havoc in the backfield like we saw in the championship game, then you got a much better chance of making this a balanced approach and also having the ability to play the game that you desire. So I think we're going to see that a lot early on. I don't know how successful they'll be able to be at it. Obviously, Pacheco's the guy for Kansas City that provides that toughness, that, hard-nosed style that the rest of the offense kind of lacks. They are much more, big play, flashy type of, deal with the screens and all of that stuff, the uniqueness. But Pacheco is just a north-south guy, and I think they're going to try and use him in that way early on in this game. And, to your point, you kind of said it, like who's going to come out early. The Eagles definitely can start fast because they do have the more physical group and they have the overall more talented roster from top to bottom. I think we'll agree on that, and we'll see kind of how that reflects in our top 10 players in this game list. Just off the bat, I have more Eagles than Chiefs in that list.
Absolutely, you should. I do too. I think it's
and that's probably what played into this spread is my guess. And they're just saying they have the better players.
Jalen Hurts has had a terrific year. I mean, as far as actually, predicting what happens, I mean, I've gone back and forth a million times. And I'll say this before we make our official picks here in a second. The only thing that will shock me in this game, is a blowout either way. Like I will be shocked by a blowout either way, because you'd say, well, come on, Mark, the Chiefs could blow out the Eagles. It's Mahomes, it's Reed. But the Eagles have the better roster 1 through 53, right? And then you'd argue, well, come on, Mark, the Eagles can blow out the Chiefs. Well, it's Mahomes, it's Andy Reid, it's Travis Kelce. And don't get me wrong, they have real players on their defense. Frank Clark, Chris Jones. I mean, these are not scrubs. Chris Jones, I think, is one of the top 5 players in this game. So
yeah, that front four is fantastic.
And Karlaftis had a really good rookie season.
Willie Gay's really good.
The WIU kid holds his own really well. Now the Chiefs, I can't remember the name, and I saw the report. One of the starting corners, there's a concussion protocol for one of them. So that's going to be interesting to keep an eye out for as well. Again, it just goes back to, if Philly can get the play action big shots to AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, I personally, listen, I think Juju's great. I mean, I think Toney and Kadarius Toney and what they've gotten out of him so far, and Valdez-Scantling, but the 2 best wide receivers in this game are on Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And if Jalen Hurts is gotten this extra week to rehab and get that shoulder feeling right so he can hit deep balls on play action and take shots, this could be it's going to keep Philadelphia in the game. They're going to score. They can score against this Chiefs defense. Can Travis Kelce and Mahomes and that offensive line of the Chiefs withstand the pressure from the front 7 of the Eagles and move the ball methodically to force them into the style that they want to play, to where it keeps Philadelphia having to think we need to take big shots because all of a sudden we're down 14-3 and we got to get away from the run game. I can't wait. I just can't wait. I think it's going to be a really great game. I think it's going to be an all-time great game. I think it's going to be a last possession type game, late in the fourth, where you're starting to look at the clock versus how many possessions are left for each team, trying to figure out how it's going to be. I'll say it first, if you don't mind. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs win in a really close game late, 24-21 type of field goal late drive, or they're down 21-17 and Mahomes leads them on the touchdown drive late. I think it's a great game. I think both teams play well. I think that in the end, when it comes down to picking this game, from my perspective, I just trust Andy Reid. I just trust Mahomes, and I just trust Kelsey. And the last time the Chiefs were in a game of this magnitude against a roster that was better than them, it was Tom Brady at the helm, and the Chiefs roster was in dire straits on the offensive line. This Chiefs offensive line is good. Orlando Brown, Wiley, the rookie center, Humphrey's his name, Humphrey. Like, this is a solid Chiefs offensive line, so I think they can withstand it. Mahomes is just that good. He's been in these big moments. I don't think the moment will be too big for Hurts, but I mean, how can you not lean on the experience of Mahomes in these moments, and just being the best quarterback in the NFL? So I'm gonna take the Chiefs. I'm gonna take them close. I think it's an all-time fun, great game with a big moment. I think there's gonna be a big play moment, whether it's a Devontae Smith just break 80-yard touchdown, or a Hassan Reddick strip sack fumble score for the Chiefs defense. I think there's going to be a crucial, gigantic moment, because there's just too many great players for there not to be, a big time moment. I'd be a little shocked if the moment's like a Miles Sanders 70-yard run or a Pacheco 60-yard run. I think the running game is going to be a lot of grinded out, who can stick with it the longest. And so I think it's going to be an all-time game. I'll take the Chiefs, though, in a close 3-point victory.
Probably going to see a trick play somewhere in this, too.
Yeah.
So that could certainly provide the spark that
really
one of these
special
teams
part,
needs.
too.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, I could see Valdez-Scantling doing some sort of end-around pass or something like that. So we'll stay tuned for that for sure. I'm in the similar mindset as you when it comes to this game. I do think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be relatively high scoring, though. So that's maybe where we differ a little bit. Not that yours was low scoring, but I do think we're going to get into the 30s here. Like, if I were to just pick a score, my initial guess was about 34-30 in favor of the Chiefs. I do see this one staying close throughout, and then the Chiefs just, able to pull away late. Maybe Philly in the, with a little over 2 minutes to go, gets a field goal, hoping they can get the ball back, and with the timeouts, and then the Chiefs end up getting the first down they need to kneel this one out. Do you think it's going to be a great game? I think we're going to see all phases of this game show up big. There are definitely some special teams things to watch out for with these two groups.
Yeah.
I do think both defenses, Chris Jones, what do you have? 4 sacks this past championship game. So he could certainly provide, a momentum shift. Hassan Reddick, Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, like those guys. Someone could do, something big on that side of the football. So yeah, I think we're going to see all 3 phases of this game on display in the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs coming out on top. And let's not forget, we're pitting Andy Reid against Nick Sirianni as well, a rookie head coach in this situation versus a seasoned pro who's been in this big game 3 times and been to plenty of other conference championship games. He knows what the big moments require. And we've seen Sirianni do very well as a coach in his early going, but we've never seen it at this stage. So I'll be interested to see how that matchup plays out. I would lean on that experience, as you were mentioning. So that's kind of what pushes it over the top. And just Mahomes being a legendary player, it's hard to root against him. If there's a team I could see beating Mahomes and this Chiefs team, it would be the Eagles. It's because of how good their roster is. If the 49ers were here, I would feel much more comfortable saying the Chiefs win this game. If it were, the Tampa Bay Bucks from even a couple of years ago, when I thought the Chiefs were going to win that game, I felt more comfortable thinking the Chiefs were going to win that game as well. So it's a total toss-up, really, relative to pitting one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, greatest coaches of all time, against a phenomenal roster, one of the best we've seen.
It's hard predicting that after 5 straight AFC Championship games, 3 Super Bowl appearances in 5 years, that Mahomes is going to be 1-2. It's hard thinking that. But I think you're absolutely right. It's very plausible. And it's because this Eagles team, I don't see this Eagles team being at the new beginning of a new dynasty, even if Jalen Hurts is terrific, because so much of this team is built on other players. That Lane Johnson is a terrific player, but does he have another 5 years left? No, he's probably got another year and a half, 2 years at his peak. He's dealt with mega injuries. Mailata's young. He's got a time left in his career, but Kelsey's probably gone after this, especially if they walk off with a win. This roster will change a lot. Now it'll start to become more like how the Chiefs is, where no, it's a good roster, but you're going to rely on your quarterback and your coach. So for the Eagles to get one early, and then hopefully, build that confidence and attract free agents to build around Hurts and having to keep transforming this roster. But it would not shock me if this is just a one-off special roster for Philly, because I think their roster is that special in a lot of ways. But they're going up against the best quarterback in the NFL, with the best current coach in the NFL. I know it, okay, Bill Belichick, but the way that trending right now, the best coach over the last couple of years, especially with what he's done, Andy and Pat, I think they get number 2.
I think so too. It's going to be one for the ages. I agree with you there. Very excited for this matchup to play out. All right, let's go and do. Well, I kind of teased our top 10 players would be at the end, but I think this is a good time to segue into it. What do you think? All right, let's do it.
Agreed.
So, do you want to start from 10 on down, or do you just want to make our lists 1 through 10 and go number for number, back and forth on that?
I don't mind starting at 10 and working our way down. I think we both know who's going to be number 1 when we get closer to the top. So I think it'd be more fun to start at 10 and kind of work our way down like that. I'll go first.
Sure.
I have Devontae Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles at number 10. I think he belongs on this list. A lot of people would argue maybe he's more fringe. But I just think he is a really special difference-making type of player, especially for Jalen Hurts. Like him and Jalen Hurts, and having Devontae Smith makes A.J. Brown that much better. A.J. Brown being as good as he is, they're one in this. They're very different receivers, but they help each other so much. I think Devontae Smith is special. Heisman winner. I think he's number 10.
They complement each other very well. He's a great route runner. He was probably around 15 for me, though.
Okay.
Number 10, I have Darius Slay.
Big play Slay.
And he obviously has that moniker for good reason. I still feel like he's like mildly underrated in the scheme of the conversation of the best corners in the league. This guy can, make a big play at any given moment. And what better chance than in the Super Bowl? He's come up big in big games in the past, and a true shutdown guy. And I'm interested to see if they put him on Kelsey, if they try and find ways to take away the Chiefs' best weapon. But Darius Slay coming in number 10 for me.
He was my first one off the list. I struggled a little bit with him just because I tend to lean. Offensive guys with production and I'm putting this list together. I'm thinking about like importance to this game. I think Devontae Smith having a big game and making a big break play, like I mentioned earlier, like that's so much more of a factor for me right now in looking at it. I go number 9, and I'm going to go with Mailata, the left tackle for Philadelphia. A lot of people think, Lane Johnson. Well, he does play the right tackle. Mailata is a earth-moving, gigantic human being who is going to protect Jalen Hurts' blind side, or hopefully the rest of Jalen Hurts' career if you're a Philadelphia fan. He's entering his prime.
Also got a great set of pipes. If you didn't listen to the Christmas album, that guy is.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's entering his prime, and I think he's a person that in a year or two could be in the top 5 of this list. But he's at number 9 for me.
Number 9 for me as well.
There
Nothing more to say. I totally agree with you on that front. Number 8, I have Javon Hargrave. Another guy that I think is super, underrated. And that's a little biased because I got to see his formative years with the Pittsburgh Steelers before they lost him to free agency. But he is one of the more athletic, traditional nose guys that you'll ever see. I mean, this guy can really, rush the passer with finesse moves other than bull rushes, and just a really difficult guy to contain. I think he's someone that could show up on the stat sheet in the Super Bowl and make a big play.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue there. He is just off my list. I go number 8. I go Hassan Reddick. I think the guy who, Brock Purdy's elbow hates the most in the world right now. Hassan Reddick to me is he could be as high as 3 or 4 on this list. I have him at 8, just in the sense that I think that he has had a breakout season. It's been a great season, and he's got a tough job against these 2 tackles that the Chiefs have with Wiley and Brown Jr. But he has the opportunity to make, maybe more than anyone, like a game-changing play. He's a game-changing player, but he's not I struggle with him being like a consistently great player, down in, down out, like some of the guys I have above him. But I'm not going to be bummed or call you crazy if he's way higher.
He's not, unfortunately. I had him at number 11, and I struggled keeping him off the list, but it was kind of the inconsistency thing, and I was wondering, if too much of the recency bias was playing into it just from this past game. He has been very good all year, and he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but there's so many great players in this game that I had to snub a couple guys, and he was one of them. Who you got for 7?
I go Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson at 7, the tackle. Again, he's past his prime, I think, a little bit. But I think in this game, importance for this game, big-time player, big-time game, big-time moment, I expect Lane Johnson to have a really big game and to play well, because he's a future Hall of Famer, and guys like that usually step up in moments like this.
I have him much higher. We'll get to that down the road.
Okay,
A.J. Brown comes in at 7 for me. Physical freak. Obviously, a big one catch away from a 60-yard touchdown. He can break the game wide open with one catch. Phenomenal route runner, can stack. Just all around phenomenal player. Probably the acquisition of the offseason. Just what he's been able to do for that offense and giving them that extra layer that maybe they were missing last season.
Nothing to add there, because he's number 6 for me, A.J. Brown. I think he is, besides Travis Kelce, the most important offensive weapon in this game. Kelce and then A.J. Brown. I would put Devontae Smith number 3. And then you start talking about, maybe a Miles Sanders, like if he having a really big game as far as importance of offensive weapons. So Brown comes in at 6 for me.
I have Jalen Hurts at 6. Phenomenal player, MVP candidate. You could probably make the argument for him being higher on this list. I tried to give some love to some of the linemen, so that's kind of what pushes the list, and you struggle to find room. And he's young and off of an injury, and just a few different factors in this. Phenomenal player, really excited to watch him. He's going to have a good career, and excited to watch him for years down the road. To me, having him at number 6 is no slight. It's just more so, again, that we've got a lot of good candidates here, but phenomenal guy. Definitely one of the more dual threat quarterbacks, true dual threat quarterbacks that we have in the league. And I think people don't give him enough credit for his, ability to get big plays with his arm as well. Number 5.
Yeah, I go Jason Kelce at 5. I think future Hall of Famer, and his importance to Jalen Hurts and the rest of the offensive line. It's a really talented group. Kelce is the engine that makes it go. People always talk about Jalen Hurts being the reason why he gets so many 4th and 1, he squats 700 pounds. Watch Kelce on those 4th and 1s. The dude is an absolute dog. I mean, he is the true sense of a dog Philly guy. And I think Jason Kelce's importance this game is huge.
I agree. I have him right there as well. So no argument for me at all. Number 4, I have Chris Jones, which almost feels low on the list. But the guy wreaks havoc. He's the closest comp that I have for Cam Hayward. They're both of that similar mold. Giant guys that can push the pile, but super underrated athleticism to be able to chase down quarterbacks, to be able to provide tons of help in the run game. The guy can take on double teams and still make an impact in the backfield. He's one of the best defensive players in this entire game, and is probably the top defensive player in this game.
Yeah, I have Hurts at 4. You said everything about it. I have Hurts a little higher, just in the sense that he's had such a terrific season. I mean, he is I think he'll finish second in the MVP behind Mahomes, and deservedly so. And if it wasn't for the shoulder injury late in the year, I think he very well could have been the MVP, and this Eagles team may have only been a 1 or a 2 loss team. I have Chris Jones at 3, and Chris Jones, yeah, there's nothing else to say. I think he's the best defensive player in this game, in a game full of terrific defensive players. And he needs to have a gigantic game for the Chiefs to win. Like, he needs to frustrate Kelsey. He needs to throw things off in the run game for the Eagles offensive line for the Chiefs to win.
I have Lane Johnson at 3. I think he's the best offensive lineman in this game. And you are right. He's on the back 9 of his career, certainly. But the guy is an absolute force. He's battled through injuries in his career and still been able to play at a very high level, future Hall of Famer. And as you said, like, you can capture lightning in a bottle for one game that where you need to just exert everything you have, like a Trent Williams has done in the past in some big games.
Did last year.
He absolutely did. So I think we can see the same from Lane Johnson here, and he's going to be, put on task early on with a lot of these, defensive fronts that the Chiefs are able to employ with switching guys up and putting guys in different positions. He'll be tasked early on, and I think he's going to answer the bell. So that leaves us with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, which are 2 and 1 for me.
2 and 1,
Mahomes
same.
being number 1, and I think you got the same.
Simple as that. So when you look at my list, yours is just slightly different. I have the top 3 players, Chiefs, Mahomes, Kelce, Jones, and then the rest of it, 4 through 10, is Philly. So when you start to say why this game I think is going to be so close, that's it. And especially when you include Andy Reid being a huge kind of mismatch, you would agree, just for historical purposes and what we know of Andy Reid versus what we know of Sirianni. You have the better coach, the 3 great players, the 3 best players, from my opinion, versus a way more talented, deep roster, but an unproven coach and an unproven young quarterback. It's what makes this game so fascinating.
Totally. Absolutely agree. All right. We've got 5 minutes, Mark. So let's get through a lightning round of Super Bowl trivia. I'm going to fire off some questions to you first, then you can go with yours, and we'll just kind of nail these one by one. All right. Super Bowl trivia. How much do Americans spend on beer for the Super Bowl?
Oh, it's got to be like over $200 million.
$1.3 billion in beer. That is also the same amount of chicken wings that are consumed, but in number. So not money, but number of chicken wings, 1.3 billion. Most expensive Super Bowl ad was for which company, coming in at $14.9 million for 90 seconds in 2018?
God, they must have had a lot of big.
And it's a very popular company. It's a specific product they offer. So I'll give you points if you could just guess the company.
Apple iPhone, no.
It is not, no. It is another A, Amazon, the Amazon Echo.
Oh, the Echo.
Nearly $15 million for that one. All right, Super Bowl 44 became the most watched program in U.S. history, beating out what program? And this is a TV show, but not just the show.
MASH season finale.
It is the MASH season finale.
Series finale, yeah.
That is correct. That is correct.
I knew that I knew that one.
Probably the last of the massive, audiences for one TV program for sure. What is the college that has the most number of quarterbacks represented in the Super Bowl?
Oh, I saw this one. Unfair. I saw this one in doing my research. It was Cal.
That is correct.
That was Aaron Rodgers, and I can't remember who else.
Jared Goff was the most recent.
Jared Goff,
but then we had Vince Ferragamo for the Rams back in Super Bowl 14. We had Craig Morton for Dallas in Super Bowl 5, Denver in Super Bowl 12. He was the first quarterback ever to start a Super Bowl for 2 different teams, was Craig Morton. And then Joe Kapp for Minnesota back in Super Bowl 4. I didn't know who Joe Kapp was, so there you go. The most rushing yards in a Super Bowl goes to whom? 204 yards rushing. 2 touchdowns. I didn't even know who this person was.
It's got to be in the 80s in the 70s.
It was in the 80s. Super Bowl 22 for Washington. Timmy Smith ran for 204 yards, 2 touchdowns, in a 42-10 win over Denver. And I have a bonus one here. The coldest ever Super Bowl was in what city?
Was it that New York
coming in at 39 degrees?
When Peyton got froze out by the Seahawks that played in the new Giants Stadium?
It was nope. It was not that game.
I don't know.
It was actually quite a while ago. Super Bowl 4 in New Orleans, 39 degrees.
Oh, wow. Damn.
All right, I'll let you fire yours off. We got a couple minutes here.
I have a couple here. Who has the most Super Bowl appearances? The Patriots. How many?
10.
11. Patriots have 5 losses in the Super Bowl. That's tied for most with the
most losses in the Super Bowl.
Patriots have 5. Another team has 5.
The Bills lost 4. The Cowboys. Oh, the Vikings. No, they lost. Did the Vikings lose 4? I think, or something like that.
It's the Broncos.
Is the Cowboys?
Broncos.
The Broncos. Okay, all right.
New Orleans will host Super Bowl next year. It'll be their 11th time hosting, which will tie them for the most, which with other city.
I feel like I knew this. New Orleans and
will now be tied with which
Miami.
City? Miami, yeah. I mean, you're only Miami, LA, New Orleans, and then finally, how much does the Lombardi Trophy weigh?
Ooh. I'm gonna guess it weighs 11 pounds.
Oh, no, not 12, 7 pounds. 7 pounds.
7 pounds.
Okay. I'll say this. My final point I want to make, and this is a Tom Brady retirement thing and a Super Bowl thing together. He's won the most MVPs in Super Bowl history, 5. I think the best way to Taylor Lewan floated out retiring 12 across the league. That'd be kind of sick.
That would be. Wow.
I don't think they'll do that, but I do think that they should absolutely rename the Super Bowl MVP trophy, the Tom Brady Super Bowl MVP.
That's a good idea. I agree.
Way to honor Tom. He's the greatest football player of all time. And that's, I think that'd be no one would argue 2 cents about that.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. Mark and I both picking the Chiefs to win. We'll put out some fun prop bets that we pick for later in the week on social media. Let us know your thoughts. And next time we meet y'all here, it's going to be getting ready for the 2023 offseason with our Super Bowl recap episode. We've already got some fun guests lined up for later on this offseason as well. So stay tuned for that. But for now, just enjoy the Super Bowl, get those spreads. You'll be contributing a portion of that $1.3 billion in beer costs, I imagine. So everyone have a safe and fun holiday, and we'll see you here next time.